Alright, hello. I just recorded a whole ass video and it freaking disappeared or something. Unless I wasn't recording it, but no. Pretty goddamn sure I was recording it. Because it said had the time on it and stuff. Anyway, so fuck the police. I'm banned off Facebook another month. 30 days. I just had my longest time on Facebook for this year, which was over a month or something. I've been on Facebook. I kept getting in trouble, or it would tell me I was banned for a month, but I wasn't banned, but then I could still post. It's this is what they tend to do. They tell me I'm in trouble, but then they let it pile up and then they ban me for a month eventually. And especially, okay, the trick is potentially you have to fight it. If you get banned, if they say you're banned for a month, you have to contest it, or whatever is the button you press to say try to argue it or whatever. Because if you don't, then you just get banned. But if you argue it, you at least get a stay of execution for a few days or something. That's what tends to happen to me. At least if I fight it, I stay for a little while until enough of them rack up, and then they just ban me. Or maybe it's just until they get some human to look at the stuff that I contested, and then they are no, you're getting banned anyway. As it was, I told a joke what was it? I told a joke that was not politically correct, and I bleeped it out, but it's anyways. It was a sexist joke, but it a faux sex. I'm not sexist, hopefully, but but I was playing the part of a sexist to make a joke. It's I don't know. Sexism is kind of funny because I can understand why somebody could kind of not like men or not like women. I get it. It's that's why I think, yeah, it's just terrible the way these internet technocrats or whatever are trying to ban any kind of politically incorrect humor that denigrates any demographic or whatever. It's where does that end? Obviously with humor, they're gonna have to wipe the whole canon of the whole history of comedy, because it's all offensive. Yeah, it's pretty much all offensive. You can have some debate about whether there can be a comedy that's not offensive, but unless you can do it yourself and create anything that can stand up to all this whole tradition of offensive comedy, I'm honestly skeptical of comedy on some level. I think people write comedy a blank check too much, just they write art a blank check, or all kinds of things. There's nothing that you should just write a blank check to. You should always everything has to take its priority within reason. But but at the end of the day, this is just free speech, there should be, if people don't understand like John Stuart Mill explained free speech and why it's important. And he did so in like the 1800s. And he was like working for the British East India Company, I believe. Like he was like the secretary of the British East, like some insanely high up position in the British East India Company, kind of a sinecure perhaps, but maybe pretty involved, I don't know. But and he, in his book on liberty, he actually is partly promoting the opium wars, it seems like, because he's pissed off at China for like denying the Scottish and you know, the British opium cartels the ability to like sell opium to Chinese people. And so, you know, he's kind of a problematic figure in that sense, you know, like he was basically serving empire and whatever. But even he understood, or at least certainly could explain clearly and succinctly, how important freedom is, freedom of speech especially. And you know, I think he saw a lot of the problems that now exist, maybe have long existed here in the US. He saw them in the UK in that time. And basically that people like, even where there exists technical legal freedom of speech, there's sometimes even more repression of speech just by kind of self-censorship and corporate censorship, and, you know, like, yeah, just various ways in which countries where they're, in theory, could say almost anything, but in practice, you know, very little truth is said, or like what is said is usually within a very small parameter of, you know, acceptable dialogue. So, you know, I think, like, but even when it gets down to like me making jokes that are like non PC, or that are a sexist joke, even if it's like just completely a joke, like not actually meant as a literal thing, just like ironically, sarcastically, it's just like the way, like, to create a society where everybody's like used to like being on pins and needles and like not being able to say, you know, having to think like, well, what would Zuck think of this, or what would Zuck's algorithms think of whatever I'm about to say. And you know, it's stifling and it's corroding, and I don't know, I just can't think of anything good to say about that. Like, it's I mean, it's closer to maybe how some people have been living or want to live or whatever, but and further from how I've ever wanted to live. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody can really comfortably live in this kind of like, you know, paradigm where people are just constantly under scrutiny for everything they say. And to the point that, I mean, yeah, it's like as if we're in like a convent or something, we're all like nuns in a convent being watched at all times to pass some initiation or something. Like, all right, so I'll just finish off this video, and I'll just say, like, I recommend not getting that procedure thing that people are getting. There's a procedure that people are getting that's, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say that. They might ding me for medical misinformation, but it's just, this is not anything like, I mean, I've had the less faith in the US and in society and in capitalism and the status quo than virtually anybody. But the way things have gone have even surprised me. Yeah, even surprised me. I was like, wait, that's it? Like, nobody else, you know, only Nicki Minaj, you know, like, but at the same time, it's like I've been dealing with the business end of this same type of phenomenon for a while, like, of basically the establishment and its ignorant minions. You know, I deal with that in politics, I deal with that in archaeology. So, but a lot of this stuff that's going on also is a psych out. You know, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of very real stuff going on, but there's also a lot of psych outs going on. And so if we can not get psyched out, I guess I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, don't get psyched out, dude. Because, you know, there's no reason, there's an easy way to, like, if you make people think they're being defeated, then you might get them to basically go through the motions of being defeated in themselves before you even, or without actually having to do anything to them. So, like, you know, that seems like what they're doing to us right now, to a large extent. Certainly in the US. Not so much in some other places, maybe, but I mean, in my opinion, yes, we should definitely take every precaution and be ready for any possibility. But until they're literally jamming it into people by force or, something like that, it may be wiser to stay calm than to freak out. I mean, maybe it's better to stay calm regardless, but especially if there's a chance that that may be all that's required of us, is to stay calm and not flinch. Anyway, that's my spiel, and thank you for listening.